We don't often see a new family member to the iPhone lineup, but February 19th was that day that Apple introduced a new iPhone, the iPhone 16e. It's kind of a newer version of the iPhone SE, and it's a cheaper version of the iPhone 16 that Apple calls it the latest iPhone with the greatest price. So if it's the latest and the greatest iPhone and it's in the iPhone 16 lineup, you should expect some similarities with the base models, right? But the deeper we go, the more confused we get. Apple's being smart here. It's at a higher price than the iPhone SEs, but they're still removing some features to make some distance between the base models and the iPhone 16e. And to be honest, we kinda saw that coming, but at this price? I mean, basically there's no budget iPhone that Apple sells brand new. The iPhone SE was at $429 and the iPhone 16e is at $600. I'm sorry, $599. But the thing is that there's something that the iPhone 16e is great at, and there's something that don't even make sense with this phone, so let's talk about it. Okay, now the first change that I want to talk about, which is a good one, is the battery life. And man, the battery life on the iPhone 16e is something that I wanted from a base model iPhone for a long time. And if you've seen my previous video about the iPhone SE, I said, because that thing's battery was an absolute dog shit, and I ain't gonna change my mind about it. But even though that the iPhone 16e is $200 cheaper than the iPhone 16, it has a better battery life than it. It lasts around 26 hours, which is 4 hours more than the iPhone 16. Hands down, this is impressive, because not only did Apple has changed the internal design of the iPhone 16e to pack a higher capacity battery in it, but also for the first time ever on an iPhone they used the self-made 5G modem, which is called the C1 chip. Since Apple is using a self-made 5G modem on their iPhone, they can make it so much efficient yet more powerful than before. So it gives you more battery life with better performance. It's exactly the same chemistry with the M series chip that Apple started using a few years ago on the iPads and the MacBooks. And I can definitely say that this time the iPhone 16e has the best battery life ever on a base model iPhone. Okay, now let's talk about the cameras. iPhones have always been one of the best in terms of the cameras. Not the best, one of the best. And the previous iPhone SE lineup always had a good camera, and the same role is happening for the iPhone 16e. Apple is using a single camera setup in the back. Now before you start roasting Apple, I gotta say that it's the same 48 megapixel fusion camera that's been on the iPhone 16 and the 16 Pro maybe, which Apple says that it's a 2-in-1 single camera, the clever game that Apple has been playing. Just like the normal or the Pro models, you can zoom up to 2 times without compromising the original quality. And of course you can zoom up to 10 times, but let's be honest, not a single soul is gonna use it, but it's a good thing to have. And as for the videos, we of course got 4K 60 FPS and not 4K 120 because obviously it's a Pro feature. But you know, the thing is that it doesn't have cinematic mode. What the f? The processor is the latest, the camera hardware is way better than before, the resolution is higher and it definitely got the potential, but it doesn't have cinematic mode. Bruh, my iPhone 13, which is from 3 years ago and it's the normal version, got the cinematic mode. And matter of fact, I'm using it right now. But the 2025 $600 iPhone doesn't have cinematic mode. What the hell is going on here? And it doesn't have the new photographic styles, which is okay, I mean, not everybody gonna use it. And of course, it doesn't have the stupid camera control button, which is again completely okay. It's useless. But I wish there was an ultra-wide lens, but it's Apple. Okay, now apart from the camera which gave me a headache, the good thing that Apple has been added to the iPhone 16e is action button, which is a good thing. I mean, it's customizable and it's way more usable than the silent switch because, you know, nowadays everybody's phone is on silent mode. Mine's not, but well, yeah. And like I said, it's customizable. You can open the camera app and take a selfie, open the Snapchat, use flashlight and use some custom commands in the shortcuts app, and endless possibilities. Okay, now the next thing, which is one of the main purposes of this phone, is the processor. iPhone 16e kinda has the same processor as the iPhone 16 and the 16 Plus. Now, why did I say kinda? We'll get to it. But first, let me talk about the bright side. The good thing is that this processor is powerful. This means that you can use it for a long time and it will get more updates than the older iPhones. So you're obviously gonna be good for like 4 or 5 years, considering the fact that you change the battery to get the same performance after a few years. Only if Apple doesn't slow down the phone after a few updates. I talked about it before. Now the next thing, which is kind of the main purpose of the iPhone 16 Emo Edition, is Apple Intelligence. But it's not exactly intelligent right now. But it's a good thing to have on a $600 iPhone, right? I mean, what can go wrong? This can go wrong. Now, let's talk about the dark sides. Please, let me talk about it. First is that while the iPhone 16e has the same processor as the iPhone 16, it's not exactly the same. It has less GPU cores. It has 4, while the iPhone 16 got 5. Not a big deal because you're not gonna notice it with the day-to-day use. And I think this processor was gonna be used on the iPhone 16, but it got cancelled, so they used it on the 16e. Okay, now the next dark side is that this phone, an iPhone from 2025, still doesn't have MagSafe. It's not MagSafe ready, it doesn't even support MagSafe. It only supports Qi1, 7.5 watts. Why the hell did Apple even talk about it in the video? 7.5 watts, it's supposed to be a joke. I don't know what it is, 2016? I mean, if you're not gonna support Qi2, why the hell are you even using it? At this point, using a wire charger is way more convenient. I mean, you plug in your phone and after an hour, you're good to go. And of course, yes, it does support USB Type-C, but it's at USB 2.0, so you're locked at 20 or 25 watts. Apple, Apple, Apple. Now the next feature which is missing from the iPhone 16e, and it's not a big deal but it's needed, is the ultra wideband chip. It's the exact technology that AirPods and other iPhones have that lets you to find the exact location of your item if you lose it. But this one doesn't, so make sure not to put your phone under a pillow or something. And the funny thing is that this feature was announced by the iPhone 11 back in 2019, 6 goddamn years ago. What's wrong with Apple? I don't know. Now the next caveat is that this phone, while having a self-made 5G modem, doesn't have the ultra wideband for 5G. I mean, it does support the standard sub-6, but it's not as fast as the iPhone 16 that can go up to 4 gigabits per second. But if you go somewhere that this amount of speed is available, your phone just says that I can't and goes back to sleep. And other than the 5G, which is not as fast as the 16, it doesn't have the Wi-Fi 7. And it doesn't even have Wi-Fi 6E, it's only Wi-Fi 6. God, then while being a few steps behind the iPhone 16, it's still in the iPhone 16 lineup. Why? Okay, now all these things that I said about the iPhone 16e doesn't mean that this phone is either perfect or the worst iPhone that you can get. Now let's get to the question that why does this phone even exist? By the way that Apple introduced and the way that they named this device, it kinda gave me a thought. That maybe we're gonna see the E-series iPhone every year instead of the iPhone SE which took around 2 or 4 years. But this phone is for those who want to upgrade to the newer iPhone but they don't want to pay like $700-800. Or the ones that want to switch from Android to iPhone yet they still don't want to pay $700-800. But at the end, I think that the iPhone 16e is gonna make some noise, and for those of you who still doubt to buy a new iPhone or upgrade, this phone might be worth a look. Or maybe it doesn't. Okay, now I talked about all the things that was worth talking about the iPhone 16e. I hope you liked it, and if you did, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, this is BikeForge and see you in the next one.